you guys good? Piece up first? Huh? Just a piece up first.
It's exciting.
I got it. Wait, I have it in Shed's. Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing today?
Good, Mayor.
Let's try that again. Good evening, everybody. How are we doing today?
Great.
Great.
Happy to see a lot of faces here today, new faces as well. Looking forward to engaging with you all today. So I now call the special meeting of the Wildomar City Council to order at 6:01 p.m. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember DiFilippo.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Morabito.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nig.
Here.
Mayor Marquez.
Here. Pro Tem, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Of course, everyone please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Oh, you're leaving tomorrow. All right, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
If you are on the phone and would like to provide public comment on the agenda items, please dial the number listed on the agenda to listen live, then dial *9 to raise your hand virtually. There is a slight delay if you are streaming the meeting, so please call in early so you do not miss the comment section. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
You have a motion?
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, we now move on to special business item 1.1, 2026 general municipal election, uncontested city council races in districts 1 and 3, consideration of appointments of sole nominees in lieu of election presented by the city clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is an item regarding the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election and City Council races for Districts 1 and 3. At the close of the nomination period on August 7th, only one candidate qualified for the ballot in each of those districts. Carlos Marquez is the sole nominee for District 1, and Joseph Morabito is the sole nominee for District 3. Under the California Elections Code, when only one person has been nominated for an office within a legislative district, the City Council has two options. You can appoint the sole nominee to that office and cancel the election for that district, or you can direct that the election proceed as scheduled. Following the close of the nomination period, we certified that only one person had been nominated in each of the districts, and a notice of insufficient nominees was published in the Press Enterprise on August 12th. The required 5-day period following publication has now passed, allowing the City Council to take action tonight. If the Council chooses to make the appointments, by adopting Resolution 2026-55, that would appoint Carlos Marquez to District 1 and Joseph Morabito to District 3. They would take office and serve exactly as if elected, and the elections for these two offices would be canceled. There would also be no write-in period for those districts for this election. The city would continue with District 5 election as scheduled. The city is estimated to save approximately $30,000 in election costs by not conducting these two contests. Alternatively, the council may direct that the elections continue and proceed as scheduled. The deadline to make these appointments is no later than 5 p.m. on August 20th. So with that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, City Clerk. Are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Any council comments or discussion?
I have a question. So what's the write-in period?
The write-in period is an opportunity for.
I mean, when does it close? Can you
Actually, if I may, I can chime in on that. I think it hasn't happened yet. It's day 57 to day 14 before the election.
So 2 weeks before.
That's when it closes.
Okay, so it's actually quite a ways. Trying to think if there's another question on that one for the write-in period to last that long. And the point is that,
Carlos can?
okay, so that it's popular to say, oh, I'm going to vote for Mickey Mouse or whoever, but for clarification, can we vote for Mickey Mouse? And it be counted?
Hey, I can chime in there. So to be a write-in candidate, you have to qualify. So you have to submit all the paperwork and go through the traditional song and dance to qualify. So if someone writes you in, you also have to have gone through the qualification process to be a valid write-in nominee in order to qualify.
So then the reason why I'm going through this is that instead of leaving it open at a cost of $30,000, that you would still need to have qualified with the signatures, and the difference is now your name's not even on the ballot. So, and I'm not sure when the last time a city council member throughout the whole country, much less California, has taken on that kind of a thing. So I'm not sure that $30,000 would be a good use of our money. So I would make a motion to adopt the first option.
I was going to make the motions, so you didn't have to.
Second?
But,
No.
I'll second it, but I have a couple questions first. What was the amount we're saving again? The 15 per?
Approximately 30,000, yeah.
Okay. And then also, I just have, so they can vote, the people that are possibly being appointed tonight,
I can weigh in on
they
that.
can vote on this
Yep.
item? Okay.
So the Elections Code puts a decision with the council. It doesn't
Okay.
require the sole nominee to sit out. They have discretion if they want to, if they think there's an optical concern,
Okay.
but there's no legal requirement.
My concern was what happens if there's three, it's like, what do you do? Okay. So there's a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion carries 5-0.
Look at you guys doing a great job.
All right. This brings us to the item that everybody's here for today.
I think
We
they're
know-
here for you, man. I'll go now.
All right. We now move on to the city workshop. So item 2.1, the long-range service plan, community workshop presented by our assistant to the city manager, Corey Gorham.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. Tonight we're continuing an important conversation about the future of Wildomar and what we want our community to look like over the next 10 to 20 years. Earlier this year, the city began working with Baker Tilly to develop a long-range service plan. As Wildomar continues to grow, we need to think ahead about the services, facilities, infrastructure, and amenities that will be needed to serve our community in the future. That means asking some fundamental questions. What level of police and fire services should our residents expect as our population grows? What should our road network ultimately look like, and what conditions should those roads be maintained to? How many parks and recreational amenities should we provide? Do we eventually need a community center, senior center, or other public facilities? And once we determine what those desired service levels are, what will it cost to provide them, and how do we realistically get there? The goal of this process is ultimately to create a roadmap that helps future city councils make those decisions in a thoughtful and fiscally responsible way. But before we begin developing that roadmap, we need to understand what our community values and what residents believe our priorities should be. That's why the community engagement has been such an important part of the first phase of this project. In July, we held an in-person community workshop here at City Hall, along with 2 virtual workshops. We've also been conducting interviews and discussions with city council members, city staff, and other stakeholders to better understand perspectives on current services and future community needs. We also launched our Community Vision Survey to provide residents with another way to tell us what services and investments are most important to them. As that outreach progressed, we heard from members of the community who wanted additional time and additional opportunities to participate. Based on that feedback, the city extended the survey through tonight and added another in-person community workshop to provide residents with an additional opportunity to participate directly in the process. That's why we're here tonight. This workshop follows the same general format as the July 14th workshop. It is intentionally another opportunity for residents who may have not been able to attend that first workshop to participate, as well as an opportunity for others who want to provide additional input. We've also made a significant effort to let the community know about these opportunities. Our outreach campaign has included social media posts, videos and stories, email outreach, Peach Star distribution through the school community, information on the city's website, digital displays at city facilities, printed flyers, and direct outreach to community organizations and local businesses throughout the community. We've distributed materials at locations residents visit during their everyday routines, including grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops, the library, the post office, and other businesses and community locations. Through August 10th, our social media outreach has generated nearly 39,000 views. As I mentioned, information was also distributed through Peach Jar to nearly 2,000 unique recipients, and our email outreach achieved a reported 51% open rate. We've continued those efforts through today with the message being very simple. There is still an opportunity to participate. The purpose of tonight's workshop is to hear directly from our residents about what they value, what they believe high-quality city services should look like, where they believe future investments should be made, and how we should think about balancing those expectations with the city's long-term financial capacity. The survey remains open until 10 p.m. tonight, so anyone who has not yet participated still has the opportunity to do so. Following tonight, Baker Tilly will bring together the feedback received through the survey, the workshops, the interviews, council input, staff input, and their broader analysis. That information will help us identify common themes, community priorities, and desired service levels, and begin developing the framework for the long-range service plan. There will be additional opportunities for the council to review that work and provide direction as the process moves forward. Ultimately, our goal is to develop a practical, data-driven roadmap that helps the city plan for future service delivery, infrastructure investment, and financial needs as Wildomar continues to grow. I want to thank everyone who has participated so far. I also want to thank those who have provided feedback, asking us for additional opportunities to participate. Extending the survey and holding tonight's workshop are part of our effort to make sure that anyone who wants to contribute to this process has a meaningful opportunity to do so. With that, I'd like to introduce our consulting team from Baker Tilly, who will facilitate the next part of tonight's workshop. Joining us are Jesse Lenhart and Annie Fadley. I'll turn it over to them to get started.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just add a couple of things before we hand it over to Baker Tilly. To me, this is a very important process that we're going through because Wildomar is at a pivotal point, right? At 18 years, coming into adulthood, the city has gone through some trials and tribulations in its early years, right? Right after incorporation, the state yanked the VLF funding from the city. The city wasn't sure it could survive as a city. Parks were closed. An initial ballot measure to keep parks open failed. I remember parks here being literally fenced off because the city couldn't afford to maintain them. I think most people would be shocked if they knew during that time period how many deputies were on our streets here in Wildomar. And over the course of the past 18 years, the city has worked its way to a much better financial situation, right? And much of that is to the credit of the voters, right? The voters passed Measure Z, which allowed the parks to reopen. The voters passed Measure AA, which provided a 1% sales tax to the city. And we've had economic growth, right? Also, the state did eventually assign an extra portion of property tax to replace the VLF funding that was taken, so that was a tremendous help. So where we are today in the city is that we have a stable, structurally balanced budget that we could probably maintain for the foreseeable future, but we have to be careful, right? I hear a lot of need in the community. We're still a young community. We don't have the service levels and amenities in Wildomar that a lot of our neighboring cities have. Those cities have been around longer, most of them, and have funding streams that we don't. Wildomar will probably never have the revenue streams of most of our neighbors, right? We just don't have the land area to have the big regional shopping centers, right? We're about to have our first big box store, but we're not going to have a lot of them here. We're not set up to have major logistics warehouse facilities here in Wildomar. I doubt we're going to have major auto malls, the types of things that produce the kind of sales tax revenue that sustains most of our neighbors. We do have some economic growth. Economic development is still incredibly important for us, and that's going to help us long term. But we have to be very systematic and deliberate about the services that we provide, right? When this city incorporated, it inherited, frankly, a mess in terms of a road system from the county, right? The roads here need a lot of work. We have to decide as a community, what level do we expect for our roads to be maintained, right? We have a lot of unpaved roads, more than I've seen in any other community. So we have to decide, are we okay with that? Or do we want to pave those roads? And if so, what is the cost there? Community services, there's a lot we could do there. But what are the priorities? We can't do everything, and we can't do everything all at once, certainly. So what do we want to do, and in what order, right? Do we want to build a community center, a senior center, an equestrian facility? Do we want to build, ball fields or skate parks, aquatics? There's all kinds of things we could do in community services, but they all come with a price tag, not only to build, but then to staff and maintain over time. What do we want our public safety services to look like long term? How many deputies do we want when we get to build out? How many fire stations? All of these things are still undefined. And we are likely never going to be in a position with current revenue streams to be able to do it all. And so I think we need to look at, in a very realistic way, what are our priorities? If the answer is, look, we don't have to be like our neighbors. We want to keep it small. We want to have a lesser level of those types of services, but that means that we're going to keep our tax burden low. That's an acceptable answer, but we need to define that and understand that. If the answer is we want our streets to look like streets in Murrieta and Temecula, and we want to have all the community services options in terms of community center, senior center, and all those things, okay, but then we're going to have to establish additional revenue streams to get there, and we need to understand that as a community. So this is an important discussion for us to have, not just as a city hall, right, as a city council and staff, but as a community. Because if the answer is, no, we want all of these things and we're willing to pay for it, then okay, let's figure out how to get there. If it's, no, we don't really need all of that, then okay, let's all decide and understand that too. But what we can't do is just keep moving along and then one day we say, okay, let's build a community center. Okay, now we have this thing that we've spent money on and have to maintain, but we have other needs too that we can't afford, right? We don't want to do it piecemeal. We want to have a roadmap. We want to have a plan. And that's why we're going down this road, why we're having this process, and why we're here tonight. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris, and good evening, Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Annie Fadley. This is my colleague, Jesse Lenhart, and we're part of the Baker Tilly consulting team. We're so excited and honored to be working with you on this important planning process. And we're going to tell you just a little bit about our work and our project plan tonight before we dive into the workshop. So we wanted to start out just by saying thank you to Council for all of your engagement thus far in this work. We've had great one-on-one conversations with each of you, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with you. And we also want to thank the city management team. This is a really cross-departmental effort. Representation from every area of the city. Here you can see the directors and managers who are really highly engaged in this work. And we also have engagement from every city staff member in this work as well. And this is our team. You have Annie and Jesse here, and you also have Kayla and Mary that you may have spoken to virtually. So what is long-range service planning? Like Chris and Corey highlighted, it's really about understanding as Wildomar grows, what services need to evolve to meet that growth. And so this project is aimed at understanding what services the community values most, what service levels citizens and community members expect, and what the gap is, if there is a gap between those expectations, and what the city can reasonably deliver. And so this is going to culminate ultimately in a plan. This plan will be just one of the tools in the many tools in the city's toolbox to make informed decisions moving forward about the services that you'll deliver. And this is just a highlight of our project process. We started by meeting with Chris, Corey, and the whole team to set our scope, set our approach to this work, make sure that we were all on the same page. We are currently in this discover slice, so conducting the environmental scan of the city, of the community, through all of the methods that Corey highlighted. So the interviews, the document review, the series of workshops that we're offering, the surveys that are being run. We have both a staff survey and a community survey open concurrently. We're also surveying the consultants that the city works for the contracted services that the city provides. And then we'll take all of that information and we will compile that into working sessions for city staff and for council to be able to really say, okay, what does the community think? What have we heard? And what does that mean for us moving forward? We'll then put together a draft of the plan and we will bring it back to council and staff and back to the community. We'll update it according to everyone's feedback, and then we will launch the final plan. And we expect that that will take us into November, December. So hopefully by the end of this calendar year, there will be an adopted plan for the city. I'm going to turn it over to Jesse.
Okay, so we heard a lot already about the city the services that the city provides. So when we are talking about city services, it's not a concept that a lot of people are very familiar with. And when you kind of think about living in a city, there's a lot of things that a city does that we don't even see or even recognize or kind of connect with. Oh, that's something that my city does for me. So what we have here is just a very high level overview in order to start bringing into reality, what are we talking about when we talk about city services? And I know that a lot of them were already mentioned today when we're thinking through things like public safety, streets infrastructure, parks, community services, but there's a lot of behind the scenes work, plan review and development, economic development, and customer service, things like elections that we all talked about earlier this evening that the city manages. So this really is a mechanism to bring home when we are talking about city services and what we are looking at representing and thinking through in the plan. This is just that map of what we're talking about. Okay, so the purpose of this session, I know it'll be the third time kind of that we're saying it, but it really is another opportunity for the community to provide input in this early stage. You tell us, what do you want the identity of Wildomar to be? This is a long-ranging plan. Like was mentioned earlier today, a lot of the investments are for some of these larger objectives, they need time to be put in place really properly. We want to be thoughtful about what that looks like, the investments we make now, and ultimately how all of this comes together so that you have a really cohesive picture and the city is able to make investments that are in line with the identity that really resonates and is ultimately driven from community perspectives. So some of the questions that we have tonight that we are gathering input on is, what do you think of when you think of the identity of Wildomar? What do you want it to be when you think of 10, 20 years from now? So again, we don't need to rehash this too much, but we're gathering input in a lot of different ways. All of the questions that we're asking across these different mechanisms, interviews, the survey, the virtual workshops, the in-person workshops, it's all the same. So this was just the goal of trying to provide a lot of different avenues for people to provide input, not missing out on anything if you happen to attend one and not the other. And then we're bringing all of that information back together. Okay, so again, like discussed, all of that input really is going into forming the vision and the service levels for Wildomar over the next 10 to 20 years. So we're going to start here and really build out those major goal areas. What are these top priorities? What are some of these long-term investments? Where do we want to move the needle, and how do we want to define what that is? Included in the plan itself, and one of the questions that we're going to ask here tonight, is what should be the value that guide future decisions. 10 to 20 years is a really long time, right? So when we think about exactly how far Wildomar has come, even in the last 10 years, really putting those structures in place in order for this city to evaluate transparently and on an ongoing basis, should we go for this new opportunity? How should this new opportunity be evaluated? Because new things might come up, new partnerships, new opportunities. We want to make sure that the city has the infrastructure needed in order to understand the plan now, evaluate future opportunities, and again, think about all of the work and investment driving towards that vision, that identity, so that in 10 and 20 years, people can retain that sense of why they came to Wildomar in the first place, why they love to live here, and why they are proud to call Wildomar home. Okay, so tonight's agenda, we checked off agenda item number 1, which was the presentation, just an orientation about long-range service planning, goals of this evening, and that feedback. So the second portion of the evening is activities. So this is where we have several stations queued up around the room. Annie and myself will be roving around each one of these stations, answering questions that anybody might have. If you have a question and we're not at your station, please feel free to come find us. But all of the directions are on the slides, or on the posters. There's stickies, there's pens, there's 3x3 Post-it notes. And so once, there's no specific order that you need to complete any of the activities in. And then once you have completed the activities, you're welcome to hang out. I saw pizza come in. But if you have other things that you need to go to, you are free. Folks are free to leave. And with that, I will turn it back to the council. Are there any questions that you all have about kind of the objectives of this session or what to expect from this evening?
Any questions? None? None? All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that right now. All right, the rest of the workshop will be interactive in the City Council chambers. However, if you are on the phone and wish to provide comments, please press *9, raise your hand virtually. If you are in the audience and wish to provide feedback at the podium, please submit your speaker card to the City Clerk now. City Clerk, do we have public comment?
Yes, first speaker is Brian McWilliams.
How's it going, Council? My name is Brian McWilliams. I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. I'm currently the founder and operator of the Cake House here in the city of Wildomar. Nice to see you. Chris, you did bring up a point about spending with intention, right, for longevity. Currently, as a business here in Wildomar, the nature of the business requires all related businesses to collect the 3.5% city development tax. Right now, we're currently being limited to only operate from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Maybe it would be of best interest to be able to operate from 6 a.m. to align with state code to allow for more revenue from those taxes collected, and then also to give us an opportunity to fairly compete with neighboring cities that do allow for those expanded hours. So it's just an idea of maybe helping to repair sidewalks even. I personally walk through these streets to try to kind of work on my fitness goals, and noticing that the sidewalks and some of the roadways are very dangerous. I often go with my girlfriend and her young son, and there's many times where it becomes very dangerous and very concerning. If it's dark, I can definitely see safety being an issue for everyone. That was it. Thank you.
Next speaker, Pat Johnston.
Well, this has already been brought up about a community center, and I know that's on everyone's minds right now. So yeah, we'd like to have a community center. We'd like to have a place to have classes, to have meetings, to have events, and I think it's something we really need to address at this point, because we do have that community and very little opportunities anywhere in the community to actually meet. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, but I see it's been brought up already. So thank you.
Next speaker, Genesis Moreira.
Thank you, City Council, for the opportunity to provide our community to speak our needs and share our vision for Wildomar. As a proud resident of Wildomar, I truly love living here. It feels cozy and family-oriented. I come from LA, so it's nothing compared to LA. I want to see our neighborhood continue to grow and thrive while making the safety and well-being of our residents remain a priority. I'm asking for the City of Wildomar to address a serious and preventable pedestrian safety concern in our neighborhood near Southwest Healthcare Hospital and Oak Spring Ranch. Residents, including public safety personnel and hospital staffs, are required to park across the street and walk along unpaved roadway, sometimes late at night. There is inadequate lighting, limited safe crossings access, and vehicles approach quickly over the hill with limited visibility. As a parent of a 2-year-old, I should not have to cross a street hoping a vehicle doesn't come around the hill too fast. No parent, resident, or hospital employee should have to take that risk simply just to get home or reach to their vehicles. I'm asking for the city to take action, install additional lighting, establish a safe pedestrian crossing, and implement appropriate speed control measures. We should not wait for a serious injury or worse to happen before we act. This is a preventable safety issue, and our community deserves proactive protection now. Thank you.
Next speaker, Debbie Renfro.
Hello. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to express my concerns regarding the survey that was done and the community feedback. I've expressed these concerns with some of the members of the council already and the city manager. Like the consultant said, they started doing forums, 2 virtual and 1 in-person forum in the summer. I attended one of those virtual sessions. Me and 2 other people attended that virtual session. You had to register in order to get a link to that Zoom, which was very burdensome. That is not something that most people would bother doing, is to register just to get a link to the Zoom meeting. I don't know why a Zoom link couldn't have just been provided without having to register in advance. After that, I have since paid attention to the survey. I've tried the survey on multiple occasions in multiple ways. That includes from my mobile device, from my computer, using the QR code. If you go onto the city's website or their Instagram right now and use that QR code, it does not work. If you take the survey and actually copy and paste the link, that tells you that the survey ended on June 26th, so why would you continue to the next page? When I brought some of these concerns to the city manager's attention at the Wildomar birthday party at Marna O'Brien, I suggested that it seemed as if there was the appearance of wanting to get community feedback without actually wanting to get community feedback. At which time I was told that actually the city is going above and beyond to do that, which I truly appreciate, but that the city wasn't actually required to. So that is what the city manager told me, that the city isn't actually required to get resident feedback, but that we were basically doing us a favor by getting feedback from us. So hiring a consultant for what I was told is no more than $55,650, as somebody mentioned earlier, doesn't seem like fiscally responsible. We talked about saving $30,000 with the elections, and yet we're spending no more than $55,650 on a consultant to set up a Zoom link and come and talk to us for a few minutes with a PowerPoint. It doesn't seem like the best use of the city's money. The survey was also clearly designed to tell us, to get us to say we want all of these amazing services without actually asking us if we wanted to grow in the first place. Well, of course, everybody wants a pool, everybody wants a community center, everybody wants a senior center. But at what cost? Because I have yet to meet a person who says that they are proud that our city is getting a Walmart. That is not a source of pride. Sprouts, condos, apartments, McDonald's, Starbucks, and Dutch Brothers, none of which I have heard anybody say is a source of pride. So I think the fundamental questions that have been asked in that survey do not reflect what Wildomar actually is, and is a clear indication that the consultants don't have a sense of what our community is, and the questions were so generic that they could probably apply to any city, and any consulting firm could have done it. So thank you.
Next speaker, Jim Gibbs.
Good evening. I'm Jim Gibbs, and I've lived in Wildomar for almost 30 years. And one of the things I like about Wildomar is it's rural. And I don't mind growth, but when I see marijuana dispensaries, when I see Stater Brothers, it bothers me because I don't want drug addicts in my neighborhood. I don't want Section 8 housing in my neighborhood. The proposed development on Como and Wesley is absurd because there's 4 streets and they can't handle that traffic. This unchecked growth is not good because you might be profiting, but we're going to suffer because we're not going to be able to get from A to B to C to D because the roads cannot handle the Stater Brothers. That's going to be a mess on Bundy Canyon. There's no getting around it. So I'm for growth, but I believe like the west side of the 15 should be basically left alone because there's no roads there. There's Mission Trail, there's Palomar, and a bunch of side streets, and a bunch of horse farms, and a lot of half acreage, and a lot of dirt roads, which I like. It's kind of rural. The east side, that's another story. If you want to turn it into Marietta, have at it, because you've got the 15, you can access that. But on the west side of Wildomar, you've got a traffic problem. You've got a road problem. And I don't see how you could possibly build more roads on the west side to accommodate the plans that you have. And just putting in large businesses, I don't think that is the right way to go, especially this Walmart. We have one in Marietta and we have one at the north end. Why do we need another one? It's like absurd. Now, I know how the council works. I know how this whole thing works. You get money when developers approach you, and then when the business goes in, you get more money through the tax revenue. But I think Wildomar should slow down a little bit on what it plans to do, because we all want things, but do we really need them? Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Sandy Renfro.
Thank you. Good evening. Is everybody good? Okay. I have a couple things. First of all, I want to know what the 2040 vision plan was for. We paid for that. So why are we doing another vision plan? One of the things it says on the 2040 vision plan is to look down the road to build out. What will we look like? We're not looking down the road before we do anything. And I'm also talking about the Como and Wesley and the Palomar divisions, the projects. It's going to back up Palomar like crazy. There's no place to go except Palomar to get out. Como and Wesley, they're going to use that whole neighborhood to get in and out of there. They're not going to use Mission Trail because it's going to be too crowded. They're going to go the back way through the houses and go to Orange Street. And my other question is, you want to put these on like 7,200 square foot lots. There's two developments right now, one on Walnut and one on Orange. And those are half acres. Why? Why are you doing those half acres and you won't do, this plan does not include half acres on the ones on Wesley and Como and Palomar. They should all be the same. They were supposed to be. That was part of our vision. Also, the same thing I'm talking about now, as far as the rural spaces, was on the 2008 vision plan, along with a community center in 2008. That was on the vision plan then. And it's on the 2040 vision plan, the community center. So why are we talking about it now again? We've already decided that was our vision. I was part of the committee that did this last vision plan with Ken Mays, and we went through all this. We did the sticky notes, we did it all. And we're now doing it again. I don't understand why. It's a waste of money. And the residents, I mean, people are asking now why they moved here. Because word's out about these developments, okay, on Palomar and Wesley and Como. And they're asking, why? I thought I moved here. It was a nice place. Now I see all this stuff going in and nobody's doing anything. We don't have the roads. We don't even have the street lights. Mission Trail doesn't even have one street light. So what are we doing? I mean, I just have to ask myself that question. And I mean, it's just my tax money and I don't like spending it this way, honestly. So thank you very much.
I have no other speakers.
Mr. Mayor, based on a couple of the public comments,
City Manager, 1 second. I think we do have one more.
Monty Goddard.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on talking, but I had an epiphany when I came to the first meeting. I went to the first of these on July 4th because I was a naysayer when this came before the council, whether or not we wanted to do this planning, this strategic plan. But I listened to what the city manager had to say, and I was thrilled because for the first time, officially, I heard an honest assessment of the financial condition of the city of Wildomar. We've done these strategic plans in the past where, yeah, we want a civic center, we want a horse this, we want a pickleball, we want swimming pools, we want the world, man. But we don't want any development, and, oh, yeah, we don't have any money to pay for it. What I heard on July 4th was the purpose of the plan that we're going through today. And I'll defer my actual final judgment until the plan is done. But what I heard was we're putting something on paper that will help the city council as it evolves from different personnel and stuff, and with our new city manager to understand what the city of Wildomar wants. And, oh, by the way, this is what we can afford given our current revenue situation. So there we have some other options to look at. I think this is a valuable exercise. Like I said, I'm going to hold my final judgment till it concludes. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification based on a couple of the public comments that I heard. I want to be clear that this plan is about service levels. It's not about land use, right? What gets built where in terms of development, that's determined by the city's general plan. The city's general plan was last updated through an extensive public process at the end of 2024. A general plan, amongst other things, lays out what types of development happen where in the city. That is not the process we're going through with this plan. This is about service levels that the city will provide. Incidentally, for those who are concerned about what types of development are going where, I encourage you to go on the city's website, take a look at the general plan. It's all laid out there. And keep in mind that the city doesn't own most of these properties, right? So private individuals own these properties. They have private property rights to develop those properties based on the uses that are allowed in the city's zoning, which are laid out in the general plan. And so the city can't unilaterally say, you know, we're just going to stop future development, or we're not going to allow any more residential or any more commercial development. We can't legally say that. People own property. They've got a right to use that property. We can determine what the zoning is, whether someone can build residential on a property or build commercial on a property. Even then, the state is making it harder and harder for cities to have control over the residential side, right? And so I know there's a lot of concern about specific projects in town, specific residential projects in town. Understand that a lot of that is forced upon us by the state. We don't like the loss of that control, and we are getting ready to partner with our neighbors, our neighboring cities, to try to fight that legislatively. And when that time comes, we will invite you to join us. Other cities have tried to fight that legally, and that has not gone well for them. Some cities have tried to ignore those laws, and that has not gone well for them. But there could be a legislative fix, and so we're gonna join with our neighbors to fight that fight and ask you to help join us on that. But I just want to clarify, tonight we're here to talk about service levels, and that's it. Thank you.
Are there any comments up here on the dais?
Yes, I want to thank our city manager for clarifying that. I know we heard about a couple of projects tonight. I know we can't discuss them. I know I met with Mr. Gibbs in person. So if you have any other questions regarding those projects, please contact me. But city manager is correct. Those are SB 35 projects. And so at this point that we have to go through that process. My feeling on the community services, I know we're going to go around the room, is community services. It says it right there. We need parks and recreation. We need programming. We need a recreation center, sports facilities, horse trails, bicycle lanes, paths, partnerships that we could do, a Veterans and First Responders Memorial. I've been saying this for 18 years. If we want to keep our community, that rural feeling and that hometown feel, is we need to provide those connections. Humans crave connections, and it is the city who needs to provide that. And so I know this year it seemed like we were not as much recreation opportunities as we've had in the past. I'm hoping it was just staffing levels changes. Next year, I really would want to see movie in the park. And I understand all about funding, but I don't think those types of events are that expensive. And they bring the community together and the children, as we see here tonight. So we need to provide more connections for our residents if we're going to keep our hometown feel. And I hope my council colleagues agree with that. But that is definitely community services. That is what we need going forward.
Yeah, and
I mean,
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Yeah, so this is the time for city council comment, and then when we're done with this portion, we're going to come down here. It'll be very interactive. You can ask a lot of questions back and forth. Yeah.
I just wanted to echo Chris. I was kind of writing things down. We don't get money from developers. It's not like we're on the take on that kind of stuff. They buy the land, and like Chris said, they can do something with the land. And in Walmart's case, it's Walmart. Target could have bought it, but Walmart did instead. Same with the place across the street with, Sprouts or Dutch Brothers. It's California. There's more people. I mean, a lot of the times the policies that people complain about, it's really the state politics, Democrats. I mean, it's a supermajority. That just is what it is. The low-income housing, they can build by right, essentially. It's an administrative process. Basically, when it comes before the dais, it's as a courtesy to the public, so they can, you can give your input. But it's essentially they can build administratively without even coming to the city council, and that's California pushing that down our throats. So a lot of the times that the things that people are upset about, I get it, but nothing's going to change until the state politics really change. And fighting some of the stuff with our local cities, and hopefully there's a legislative change with some of the SB 35 things. Hopefully, I hope that comes to fruition. But as it is now, even if the roads don't maintain it or it doesn't make sense, they don't care. So we're left to kind of manage what we can manage, and this is one of those things. And I'm looking forward to doing this and seeing where we can lay our priorities out with our resources and our community services, and being realistic and pragmatic with what we have and where we're going. We're not Temecula. That's cool. I don't want to be Temecula. Even at our full build out, when we have all the Sprouts and Walmart and everything else, we're still going to be semi-wild and semi-rural compared to everyone else around us. And that's, I think, living in California this day and age is the best we can hope for. So I encourage everyone to be pragmatic and just let's go for the gusto and have a good time tonight. So.
All right, well, without further ado, we're now going to head down and participate in that workshop.
I was showing up a little late. If I could, that's okay with you?
You can come up and give public comment. You'll just need to fill out some form.
I think there's a $5 fine too. So.
Oh, sure.
For being late. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just prepared a quick statement. Sorry, I was late. My daughter had dance. So I hear the mention of keeping a hometown feel and community and tax dollars and whatnot. And I'm not sure if this was mentioned before, but I just wanted to bring up the whole thing about these flock cameras or these license plate scanners. So I'm here to ask you guys tonight to reconsider the expansion of these. It's not just Flock, right, as a brand, but these whole license plate scanner cameras as a whole. It's not strictly with the company itself. Like I said, it's with the government and the use they have with it. From what I can count, the city has maybe 20 Flock cameras, and at around $3,000 per camera per year, that could represent roughly $60,000 every year in recurring taxpayer costs, and not including any additional equipment, installation, maintenance, and administrative expenses. That raises an important question. It says, what measurable reduction in crime are taxpayers receiving for that money? And where else could that money be going? Like I said, to our community, to other projects and so on. There's more, but that's pretty much all I wanted to say, is just to kind of point out these whole Flock things. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then Corey, if we can just get his card. Thanks. All right. Now we'll make our way down. Thank you.
All right.
All right, if we can go ahead and start wrapping up our comments the last minute and then make our way back up. All right. Well, I'd like to thank all the members of the community that were able to make it today and engage with us and participate. I think this was really beneficial. I really enjoyed the conversations that we were able to have with our members of the community. With that, I'd also like to say thank you to Baker Tilly for coming out and putting on this workshop. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank staff for all the time and effort that they've put into this process thus far. As we've heard today, we're not done. This is only another step towards completing this. But with that being said, I'll now adjourn the City Council and Cemetery District meeting at 7:44 p.m.
It's a record.
I was going to say, I think that's the earliest we've adjourned this year.